Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, I want to take a look at utilizing Application Load Balancer. Not a very particularly difficult service to use. As per usual, we'll be doing this programmatically because I think that is probably the best way to learn this. We're going to open this up. It was examples repo. Again, you can use Gitpod, you can use whatever you want, but you'll have to configure those base configurations, which, like ALB CLI or whatever, you'll have to do that on your own. But this already is loaded up, and it's all because of this nice .gitpod YAML file. So what I'm going to do is make a new folder here. I'm going to call this one ELB because we might end up doing more than one type of load balancer. But for now, we're going to focus on application load balancer. I'm going to make a new file here. We'll call it template.yaml. And we'll focus on making a CloudFormation template. So we'll look up ALB CFN. And so that will bring us over to load balancers. Before version 2, there was version 1, which is the classic load balancer. When version 2 came out, we had NLB and ALB, so application load balancer, network load balancer. But these aren't too complicated to configure. So what we'll do is go ahead and, I don't think we have an example, but let's just go and copy this currently. And go here and just type in resources, and we'll paste this in below. So say allow. So that is good there. Just going to split this here, and I think I have some templates lying around here. I just need to grab these two lines here, so just get those in however you need to get them into your template. And I'm just going to call this an ALB serving up a web server. All right, so let's go walk through this and see what all the properties are. So the first is enforce security group inbound rules on private link traffic, indicates to whether inbound security group rules for traffic to an NLB. We are not doing that, so we will just take that out. Then we have IP address type, the possible values for the IP address. It's not required, so we're going to leave that out. Or we could just explicitly say IPv4. It could also be dual stack, doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna leave it as IPv4 as I don't really care about dual stack since every time I use IPv6, it doesn't work as I would hope it would. I guess question, what is the default? You can't specify dual stack for a load balancer with a UDP, TCP UDP listener. Okay. So then we have our load balancer attributes. I feel like there's gonna be a lot here, so we'll do that next. If the name is generated automatically, we'll do that. So we'll just comment that out and let it generate out a name for us. We have a scheme. So the nodes of the interfacing load balancer have public IP addresses. I'm going to set this to be internet facing because that is what we want here today. Okay. Security groups. So we'll have to define our security groups here in a moment. Subnet mappings, so the IDs of the subnets we plan to use. Let's go over to our VPC. I'm in CA Central 1, and I'm going to go ahead and grab a few. Generally, you'll want to have three to utilize in your VPC. So we'll go to our subnets, and all there is 3. So we'll go ahead and grab this one. And we'll grab the next one. And we'll grab the next one. So that is good. I'm not sure if we need both. So we have the IDs of the subnets. You can specify only one subnet per AZ. You must specify either subnets or subnet mappings, not both. You must specify subnets of at least 2 AZs, which we've done. You cannot specify an EIP. That is totally fine. What is the difference between these? Well, I'm going to stick with subnet mappings as I'm not sure what the difference is between subnet mappings and this one here. So, well, this one's an array of subnet mapping, so this might have a particular structure. Oh, it does. Okay, well, let's just go with subnets because that looks like it's just an array of strings, which is a lot simpler. Subnets, there we go. Not going to worry about tagging right now. Then we have our type. This is probably determine if it's an NLB or ALB. So, or a gateway apparently. So go ahead and do that. Paste that in here. And I'll bring this up to the top. What we really need to configure are these two values. So I can just bring these down here. Property schema is not allowed in the YAML schema. Yes, it is. It's part of the docs. And here I think it's just complaining about something else. We need to define the name up here first, though. We'll go ALB and do that. That resolved a lot of those issues. Let's go into our next part here. We do need a security group. Before we do, I'm just going to copy this link and place it here so we can quickly gain access to this. I'm just going to look up security group. CFN. I'm sure we already have something lying around for this, but I'm going to go ahead and just grab whatever I can here. This one looks okay. We'll go ahead and grab that one. We'll paste it in below. This will be ALB SG security group. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this link as well here. So I'm just going to get out of here so we can get that. This will be allow instances to connect, allow SG of, or just be like ALB SG, we'll just put that there. For ingress rules, we want to allow port 80, that is totally true, and port 80 on the way out. We also want this for 443. I mean, we might not necessarily be doing that right now, but just in case. We'll go ahead and do this, and we'll just say 443. I believe that is a HTTPS port. I always get it mixed up. I always think it's going to be 433, but it is 443, and I always get it right. But I always think that I get it wrong. And so we'll have it for that. We'll do this as well. So we're covering our bases. So that looks pretty good to me. So this will allow traffic in and out. No problem there. And this needs a comment in front of it. That's why it's complaining. We're also going to need a security group specifically for... well, I'm not sure why that's still complaining. We're going to need a security group specifically for our instances that we're going to launch up, but we'll get to that in a moment, okay? So, yeah, again, not sure why this is complaining. We'll just take that out for a second. Yeah. Again, not sure why. Well, let's look into this load balancer attribute. Let's go here. I'm just going to grab this link as well. And just saving our time to find docs later on if we have to click through. And here it says, specifies an attribute for the application load balancer, deletion protection, load balancing cross zone, access logs. I mean, access logs would be probably good to set. I'm going to leave that alone for now. It's kind of a more advanced topic. HTTP2, whether to utilize it. Nothing super interesting popping out at me. It'd be nice to attach an SSL certificate here. SSL or TLS or ACM. Not exactly seeing that there. I'm going to go back one step here. ACM. Where is the ACM? If you're wondering what I'm talking about, this is the ability to attach a security group, or sorry, a certificate. So it allows us to have a secure connection. That's probably gonna be in the listeners. I don't exactly remember, but over here, yeah, it says listener certificate. So that's probably what it is. We're also going to now need. So there wasn't really anything to configure here, so I'll just take this out. And also, we should probably set our security group here. So that is something else that we'll need to do. I'm just going to open up this link. I'm holding control so it will open and click. It's not working here today. I'm not sure why. We still have it open here. We're going to have to go down to our return values. We're going to have to check what this wants. An ID of the security groups. And if we get the reference, that's going to return back the ID. So we'll go here and we'll just say ref ALB SG. There we go. So we have our ALB, we have our security group for ALB. We're going to need listeners and target groups. So the next thing I'm going to do is define a listener. So we go here, we'll have a listener, and I will go down to examples, and we'll grab one here. I'll paste it in. And that's what we need is an HTTP listener, so that looks fine to me. Let's see what it's doing. So it's saying the default action is is to redirect to HTTPS, which actually is a good idea. It wants to reference our load balancer here, which is our ALB, so that is fine. So I'm fine with this one, actually. This seems good to me. We are going to need an HTTPS one, though. I wonder if they provide that here. No. Let's go ahead and just right-click here and see if we can get that quickly. Create an HTTPS load balancer. I was just hoping we get the cloud formation for it. No. But that's fine. What we'll do is we'll just go ahead and say HTTPS listener here. This is going to be very similar, but we'll have to look into the actual actions here. So we'll go and back to here. Did we paste that link in here for ALB? No, we did not. We'll just click back onto here. We'll copy this and we'll just paste that on in here. And let's go take a look at our default action, which is just an action, by the way. So we have a few options. There was the redirect config. That's not what we want to do. We want to send this over to a target group. I don't know if we'd have to do that under forward. Let's go take a look here. Information for creating an action that distributes the requests among one or more target groups. For NLBs, you can specify a single target group. Specify only the type is forward. If you specify the forward config and target group ARN, you can specify only one. So I'll open this up and we'll take a look. Maybe this is a very simple configuration. So this has target groups. So then why do we have this one here? The target group specify only when the target group target type, when the type is forward and you want to route a single target group. I mean, that's what I want to do. It's just a single one I want to do here. So I'd rather keep it simple. And we'll first, I guess, set the type here since we definitely need to do that. That's going to be forward. And then I'll go ahead and grab this target group ARN. And we're going to just assume that we already have it. We don't, but we'll just say TG for target group. I'll just write the whole name in here, target group. And I assume that's what it is. We'll have to circle back if that is wrong, but let's just take a look here. So we have order, not required. For config, not necessarily required. Yeah, simple as that. So now we need our target group. So here is our target group. And we'll go down here and go to examples. I'm looking one for something that will refer HTTP, like for what we want. These are for lambdas, but we can tweak this. That's not a big deal. I'll go ahead and just paste this in here. So target group. We do want a health check. That's important. And let's go grab the link for target group. So I think this is the page for it here. Yep. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this and then paste this link here. And we'll go up to properties. So we definitely want a health check. I suppose we can leave the defaults. It's totally fine. I don't mind those defaults. And so, yeah, health check, that's fine. IPv address, we'll leave that alone. Matcher, we'll leave that alone as well. Name, it's not required. Excellent. Port, the port which the target receives traffic on, unless you specify port override when registering the target, if the lambda is, etc. Okay, we'll go to protocol. So I'm just going to pull up an example of one I already have so I can just kind of speed us through this quicker, okay? So this is not a public repo, but it is just, I have a lot of code laying around for over the years, and this is a very standard setup, and it's going to help us just verify, so we can just save some time here. So notice we have this HTTP listener. We'll go back to ours, and this has a default action. The redirect config is, oh, it's up here, sorry. So I just want to confirm these here are correct. It looks like those are set there, so that is good. And then we'll have another listener, which is for HTTPS. So this one, we're going to need a default actions, which we are filling in here. Also, hold on just a second. If we go up to this one has a hyphen on it. Oh, that's our HTTPS listener. Okay, great. So again, just looking at our listener again, I think maybe we're supposed to do this here because I think that takes an array, even though we only have one action. If we go up here, yeah, so this one has an array, so that's going to save us some trouble here 443, did we specify the port? We did not specify the port here. That's probably important. 443. And the protocol, so we'll go next here to protocol. HTTPS. So that looks good here. And then we'll end up adding our certificate. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Right now we're focused on the target group. And, you know, again, this is just to save us a lot of time because this stuff can be really finicky to configure. So, I mean, I do the name like this, but we're just going to ignore that. So we have health check enabled. We do. We'll take this out here. Health check path will be whatever we want it to set it to. So I'm just going to explicitly set this, and it's just going to be that. We have health check intervals. And sometimes you want to fiddle with these, and because if the health checks take forever, it can be really annoying. We're going to go ahead and grab the next part, which is timeout seconds. We'll grab the next one here, which is threshold count. And we'll do this. So we have 10.522. So this is 10.522. We'll just read this quickly. So how often to check your health checks? How many seconds till timeout? How many times healthy? How many times unhealthy? Okay. Pretty straightforward. Port is 80. So that's what I always kind of forget. But yeah, it'd be port 80 because the app on our machine would be running on port 80 as opposed to HTTPS. So termination is going to be, SSL termination is happening at the load balancer level. Then we need our protocol. So that's going to be HTTP, protocol, pro, to, call, HTTP. And then we have to reference our VPC. VPC ID. Is that what it says? It does, okay. And I'm just gonna go ahead and hard code that in. You could pass it as parameters, you know, again, not too worried about that right now. But normally you'd pass these as parameters and not hard code them in. So we have that set up. What about the target type? Target group. Okay. So I'll go back over to here, and I guess we're not specifying any targets explicitly. It really depends on how we want to do this. So like my goal here is to set up ALB. I'm not really worried about auto-scaling groups. This one actually utilizes auto-scaling groups, and so the auto-scaling group is probably specifying that there. So this is where we're going to deviate from this one. And I actually want to explicitly set a target. So we have target group attributes, and then targets and target types. So I'm going to go down to target type. The type of the target you must specify when registering the target. So we have instance, and I think that's what I want here today is instance. So we'll say target type instance. Register the instance by the instance ID, so that is totally fine. And then we have our targets. I assume this is an array of this target description. And so we'll go here and specify a target to add to the target group. Okay, so the ID of the target type is target group instance, and specify the instance ID. Okay, so we have AZ, ID, and port. So we definitely need the ID, and that's going to be whatever our instance ID is. So we'll just say web server, and I'm going to assume this is what gets returned back. So we'll have to do that. So we'll have to say web server, certificate ARN. There's something else that we had to create. Can't remember. That's fine. Let's see if we need anything else in our targets here. So we'll go down to AZs. Not required, so we'll just ignore that. Then we have our port, the port to which the target is listening. If ALB, the target application must have at least one listener whose port matches the target group port. This parameter is not used if the target is lambda. So I'm going to assume that we're just giving it port 80. Go up here, target group, targets. Hold on here. Let's read that one more time. The port on which the target is listening. On which the target is listening. So I think that's port 80 here. Well, the target is the one that, okay, so like the thing is like here, This is, yeah, okay. Well, we'll see. I just wonder if this is supposed to be 443 or not. That's, I was getting mixed up with that. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. So I think that our target group is properly configured now. I'm just interested in target group attributes. Nothing that I'm interested in here, so we'll go back. And so now what we need is an EC2 instance, because that is something we're going to want to have here. So I'll go ahead and just say EC2 instance CFN. And I almost feel like we have done this before, so I'm going to go dig into our EC2 section here, and maybe we already have a template. No, we don't have one here at least. I know we've done it somewhere, but trying to find that's going to be a little bit tricky, but I can just type in web server here, and we'll make our way over to EC2 instance. And we'll go to examples, and we'll go ahead and grab one. I mean, I want one to automatically assign a public IP address, so I'm going to grab this one instead. Okay, we'll paste this in here. So we have our EC2 instance. We'll have to get our image ID. I just, again, going to provide one manually. So we'll go over here to our EC2. We'll go to instances here. We'll launch an instance, sorry. And I just need this AMI ID, so grab that. We have key name. I don't want a key name. I don't care about that. Network interface, associate public IP address. We absolutely do want to do that. The group set, the subnet ID. We absolutely have done this before. I remember us doing this, unless it was actually via the CLI. I could be mistaken, but let me go look around and see if I can find it, okay? Yeah, we definitely have them over here in VPC. We did this a bunch because I remember doing this. So I think it'd be really useful if we just copy this into place. So what do I want to bring over here? I definitely want basically all of this almost. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just get this out of here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this. We'll probably just swap some of these out. Bring in the parameters here. Copy this, go all the way to the top here. We'll paste this in. And we actually have 3 subnets, but we'll get back to that in just a moment. So go all the way down to the bottom. And I want to go back to our other template here. We will grab the SSM role because we definitely want that. We want an EC2 instance profile. We absolutely want that. We want the EC2 instance. And we also want the security group. So we'll basically grab all of this stuff and we'll go down and we'll paste it in. A few things that are going to be different. This is going to be our web server. So I'm going to say web SG, and then this is going to be web SG. We'll leave that as my EC2 instance because, no, we'll change over to web server. So say web server. Okay, so that's now in place. So that is good. And this one's referencing that one. So that is fine as well. So we have those set up. The security group here is only supposed to accept traffic from the ALB. So this is where we would need a bit of a tweak. I have a feeling that I probably have it in one of these templates here. So I'm just going to go take a look here. Just say SG for security group. Just go and see if I can find it in here. Or was this created in another template? I'm not finding it, so that's fine. It's somewhere in there. I just don't want to waste your time here by digging through my code. So we'll just go and take a look at our ingress rules. And we can just specify that it's coming from another security group. So if we go down to source security group, so the ID of the security group, the default VPC, the name of the source security group, you must specify either the security group ID or the security group name. You cannot specify both. For security groups in a non-default VPC, you must specify the group ID. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm just going to specify the source security group ID, and then when it throws problems, then we'll go resolve it there. And so here, what I want to do is specify this here, and this will be on port 80. So we don't want this from everywhere. This will be for everywhere. That's totally fine. And actually, I'm going to go and just modify this one quickly because this web server one really should be from anywhere for the egress. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that really quickly. If I can find our other security group, wherever it is, here it is. And for the egress, I just want to change it so it's like this. All right, so we'll go back down to our web security group. And I want to specify the other security group here. So I'm just going to split this so I can see the other one. And if we go up, that one's called ALB SG. So let's say ref ALB SG. And so we have from port to port. And this is where I think we'd leave out the CIDR. Yep. And then I'm thinking that this would be good. We can allow both protocols. It doesn't really matter. TCP, UDP, we'll let both go through. But really, we're only utilizing TCP here today. We did end up adding parameters here. So it'd probably be a good idea for us to update these and make sure they're correct. So we did grab an AMI somewhere in here. So I'm just type in AMI. Whoops. AMI. There it is. Nope, that's one we already have. This one here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just make sure it is the same. Okay, great. So I'm just going to reference it then. So I'll just say ref. Oh, we're... I keep thinking that I have it and I don't. You know what? It's because we pasted in the old EC2 code and we deleted it. So that's why I'm getting confused. But we'll have to update our VPC ID for sure. I'm not sure if we specified the VPC ID anywhere here. Type in VPC here other than this one. It is down here, so we'll just reference. Well, first of all, we'll copy this one up here. Okay, we'll just say default. And then I'll go back down to here. And we'll just say ref VPC ID. So that is in good shape. We only have a single subnet ID here. I kind of want to have 3 of them. So in the web server, we don't specify them here, but it does get specified there. We can pass in all 3 subnets in one go, but I'm just going to say subnet A and subnet B and just make our lives super easy here. And then, yeah, we'll just do 2 subnets. We don't have to do 3. It's fine. And then we'll just go here and just say ref subnet A, ref subnet B, because it's going to complain if we don't at least have 2. And then down here for our web server, we'll just change this over to subnet ID A. And then we'll have to go grab these 2 values as these are clearly probably not correct. So we'll go back over to our VPC. And we'll go to your VPCs. We'll click into here. And we'll copy the VPC ID. We'll go back over to here and we will... No, not the VPC ID, the subnets. I'm not thinking here straight today. So we'll grab the first one. Here. Well, before we do, I just want to make sure it's not D, because for some reason, the D one always messes up. This is B, so that's fine. So we'll go ahead and grab that, and I'll put actually in B so that it actually coordinates to the thing that it is. I'll go to this next one here. This one is D. I don't want D. I have so much troubles with D. We'll go ahead and grab A. So we'll do that. So I believe that is good. So go all the way down to the ground. Not sure why this is complaining here. Properties. Missing load balancer ARN in the HTTP listener. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we're missing that. I mean, it should be happy now. Why is it so complaining? Expected array type for default actions. I mean, that's why we gave it a hyphen. So I'm not sure what it's complaining about here. Let's go here. I mean, it looks like a type and array to me. I'm just gonna fix the indentation here and see if that helps it. Sometimes that helps. Again, not exactly sure why it's complaining. Default actions, incorrect expected array type. It is an array, but we'll come back to that and fiddle with that, okay? Because it just doesn't trust me here for whatever reason. Why is this a problem? Get ATT, unresolved tag. I mean, I don't see get ATT anywhere here, so that clearly is not a real problem here, so we'll ignore that. Maybe what we'll do is just put this in double quotations. That might be messing it up. No. Okay. So our web server is hooked up. It runs an Apache server. We can log into it if we need to debug it. The only thing we don't have here is the certificate ARN. So I'm going to go back to my template because this kind of saves us a lot of time trying to figure that out. And in here, we will want to have the certificate ARN. So I'm going to just copy this here. You'll have to write it out, of course. Sorry. Or just grab it from my code base because this is all accessible to you. And so this is the certificate ARN, and it seems like we are generating it out beforehand, which is actually a good idea because it is a pain to deal with certificate ARNs. I'm just going to go ahead and type in certificate ARN. I'm actually thinking about this. We don't really need a certificate ARN because the load balancer, well, the whole point of a certificate ARN is if we have a custom domain. And we're actually not going to be setting up a custom domain, so we don't actually need this here today. And I think the load balancer by default, the route that AWS provides, actually has HTTPS, so I don't think that we have to worry about that. Unless it actually asks us to attach it here and it complains. Because we're supposed to have the certificate ARN here, so... Anyway, I guess we'll find out, but I think we have everything that we need in place. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create ourselves a new file. This will be deploy. And remember, we were deploying things recently for something, maybe Kinesis. I'll go into here, and yeah, we have a deploy script. We can go ahead and copy that. And we'll go back over to here into our ALB. This is messing up. I'm just going to give this a refresh. Sometimes this messes up. Reload for GitPod. Specific to GitPod, it's not your problem. And I'm going to give this a nice refresh here. Try making that deploy file again. There we go. I'll paste in this contents here. So deploy ALB with EC2. Say ALB Basic. Our template is that, CA Central 1. This is all fine. That looks good to me. I'm going to go chmod this file. I have to cd into the directory first. Clear. Chmod u plus x. Deploy. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and deploy this here, assuming there isn't something wrong with our template. And there is. It says it's not well formatted YAML on line 93. So we go to line 93 here. And the ref is supposed to have a uppercase character there. We'll try this again. It says change set, unresolved, resource dependency, subnet A, subnet B. I mean, they're not called subnet A, subnet B. They're subnet ID A. There we go. We'll try this now. Unresolved dependency, my VPC. We don't have anything called my VPC, so I'm going to go ahead and look for that here. This would be VPC ID. And we'll try this again. It's working. Looks like it's created it. We'll go back over to here. We'll make our way over to CloudFormation. And we'll go to change settings. And we'll go ahead and click into here, see what it's creating. A bunch of stuff. We'll execute this change set. All right, so this is now going to start creating. So we'll wait here and see what errors come by because there's a lot of moving parts here. I do not expect this to work the first time. All right, so we've ran into a problem, totally fine. A certificate must be specified for HTTPS. So that is where we're not going to be able to utilize HTTPS here today because we would have to then create a certificate and we'd have to have a domain name. And I really don't want to go down that route here today. So what we'll do is we'll go back and tweak our code. And this is fine. We can use this later on when we actually need to use a certificate. And I'm sure we'll do that at some point. And I don't really want to redirect. So I'm just going to go comment this out. And what I'm going to do is just copy this one here. And we'll go down below here and we'll just uncomment it. And I'm going to change this to port 80, HTTP, and so that should be enough to resolve our issue. We're going to go back over to CloudFormation and delete this stack. and wait for it to delete. Does take a little bit of time because some things require some effort to tear down. So I'll just wait for this to delete. All right, so that's been deleted, and now we can go ahead and redeploy, and hopefully this time we'll run into less issues. But if it takes a few times, that is always the norm for developing IAC. This is a review in process, so we'll go and check our change set. And we can see we are creating a bunch of stuff, so this looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and execute this change set. The only thing I'm thinking about is that, no, it's all fine. Yeah, it's all fine. The only thing I was thinking was like we changed the resource name, or I mean, we have this one here, and did it have to reference anything? And I don't think so, but we'll be back here in a moment in case something goes wrong. Okay. All right, and it looks like our load balancer is created. We can take a look at our resources that we have, and we have a little bit, quite a bit there. Let's make our way over to EC2, which is where everything is. All right, and so we should have an instance running. Okay, and if we go here, it's a T2 micro. It's still initializing, but it might be, depending on its state, it might already have that web server up. And we can take the IP address directly and see it, but it seems like it's still working to complete. What's interesting with CloudFormation is that if you want it to wait, you could actually tell it to wait for the status checks to pass. There's some CloudFormation code for that. We're not doing that here today. I want to go over to our load balancer and take a look at what we have. So we have our load balancer here. Good. We see it's in two AZs. It's application. We have our listener. We have our single listener. It's saying what target it is forwarding to. And if we click into our target, we should be able to see things that are there. It's saying it's healthy. That means it's sending an HTTP ping to the server. So this says send to this path, and if we get back at 200, a status 200 from the application load balancer, then it should be working, and it says that it is. If we go over here, I don't say anything yet, but you know why this is not working? It's because we told the security group to only allow access from the ALB security group, right? So if we go over to our security groups here, and we look at the web one, notice that it says only allowing traffic from the other one, okay? So the only way we're going to be able to access this is through our load balancer. So if we click on our load balancer here, we have this DNS record, and if we go and grab it, or DNS name, we should be able to hopefully get to our web server. Notice it's trying to do HTTPS. We don't have HTTPS, so, oh, but it's still resolved, so that's good. Even though, well, actually that's okay, because the idea is that the, if it is, it would just go and move over to that. But yeah, it's interesting. We did HTTPS, but it just dropped to HTTP. But yeah, that 100% works. Usually when you use application load balancer, you use it in combination with an auto scaling group. And so that would be something that we can do in a separate video, is to kind of roll them up into their own. But that is a very standard setup for web applications that run on virtual machines, is to use an ALB and ASG, and then you'd have your certificate. But anyway, this is going to be really easy cleanup, because all we got to do is tear down the CloudFormation template, and we're in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead here and delete the stack. I'm going to go commit my code so other folks can benefit. So we'll just say ALB example. The key difference between the ALB and the NLB is for lower level traffic, whereas ALB is about having HTTP. And I guess we didn't show it in here, but the routes, you can actually set up a bunch of different routing rules. So that might be interesting as a separate video, but for the scope of this one, all I wanted to do was get it set up, and I will see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.